The days are so long, yet the trip flies by so fast. What's going on, everyone? MikeO back with my 2021 National Sports Collectors Convention recap and some thoughts. Wow, what a blast. As always, just so much fun hanging out at the National 2021 in Chicago after a 2-year layoff due to, well, we know what went on in 2020, but incredible, as always. Huge turnout, met up with so many members of the community, hung out during the show, after the show, walked around, looked for cards, had a great time, great trip, exhausting trip for sure. Took me a few days here to collect myself and get on camera to do this video, but it's awesome. There were so many videos before the National too. Is it worth attending the National? Should I go to the National? Should you go to the National? The answer simply is yes. Of course, it depends on circumstances. Sometimes you have family stuff going on, and maybe in a certain year you're not in a financial position to go. But if you can go, absolutely, you should go, especially if you interact with members of the community. I met so many people for the very first time this year, people I've been interacting with for the last year or two. Some people, I've watched their videos for years. So that part is just great. The hangouts after the show are incredible. And this was the biggest National of all time. It had to be. Was it in terms of total attendance? I don't know. I haven't seen those numbers yet. But with the amount of coverage, the amount of social media, the amount of interaction, I would have to say it has to be. It just has to be. And that's just with like our small portion of the community. And I know there's a whole even bigger side with Instagram and all these other social media platforms, Facebook groups and stuff like that. I mean, it was crazy. And of course, you know, in today's world of influencers, I mean, it's getting out there to more and more people. So I would suspect it'll continue to grow, but it's always worth going. It's amazing just to walk around that massive show, bigger than ever this year. The Breakers Pavilion was loaded with tables. That used to just be the breakers and some of the graders. I mean, there had to be 60, 80 tables in there. And then the red carpet area seemed a little bigger. I mean, the first day, so I got in Wednesday, and that day got in the afternoon and ended up going to the Cubs game with Wesker Griff and Big Smooth. We went to Wrigley, had a great time, was finally able to see a game at Wrigley, which was pretty sweet. Had been there one previous time, but was in the stadium for 5 hours, but the game got rained out. It is what it is. But got to see a game. Little did we know we'd see a lot of Cubs final game, a lot of Cubs stars final game in Chicago. But got to do that. Thursday was the first day, went to the show, and my goal that day was just to see as much as possible. I had no real expectations of making any purchases. I picked up one group of a couple cards, and that was it. But that day I walked the show and I still didn't get through all of it, and that was just being focused on going to the show. I didn't see any of this red carpet area, which was big, a lot of ultra modern, but definitely some pre-war and vintage as well. And I didn't even get into the Breakers Pavilion. That's how massive this show is. It's not something you can really do in a day. So Friday, day 2, is when I went, all right, let me go see those other 2 areas, and then let's see where I'm at. And that's when I started focusing in on purchases and trades and such like that. You know, Thursday night we had the get-together put together by Baseball Collector. Really big turnout, really relaxing, nice and quiet. We were able to kind of just separate ourselves, and it was awesome just to interact and talk to so many people. It was a great time. Big trade night that day as well. Went before and after. Totally out of control. The trade night was, first of all, they went, from what I could tell, all night. Saw them going on as late as like 1 a.m. And from what I've heard, people were still interacting at like 4 in the morning. And that room was just, it was almost too big. It was completely filled. Crazy ton of people, a lot of activity. So you saw a lot of variety, I guess you can put it. Tons of kids, tons of younger kids, tons of teenagers. You saw families at both the trade nights and the shows. You saw men, women. You saw people from every ethnicity. So the hobby is, I'll put it this way. A lot of people talking about dips and this and that, and where's the hobby going? The hobby, the interest in the hobby is incredibly large. It is huge. If you went to that show, you would be like, wow, this doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon. I would say that the dip, if that's what you're looking at, if you're focused on the financial part, well, makes sense, right? Everything's opening up. People are traveling. People are going to theme parks. People are going to sporting events. People are going to concerts, going out to eat. People are allocating funds different places, but the hobby attention is crazy strong still. Retail's still pretty tough to find, and things are still moving. People are just being a little more realistic, and maybe with time going, oh, not every card can rise exponentially day after day. So that part makes sense. But it was crazy. Get together Friday with Filmington, where I got this t-shirt, over at Lowe's. That was like a whole nother level. Our get together area was great. Ton of people, even more people showed up to that. So we're able to interact with YouTube guys who have become very popular, some people who are just getting started, a lot of people who have just started in the last year with videos, but also people going back 5 years, 10 years. So it was awesome to interact with all the different personalities, get to know some people a little better, just get a chance to say hello. I tried to do so to as many people as possible. Obviously, it's a little crowded. It was a public restaurant, so there's other stuff going on as well. And there was a trade night going on out in the lobby, which kind of found its way all the way down a hallway. So that was overwhelming. That was absolutely nuts, the activity going on there. And then Saturday felt a little slower to me at the show than Thursday and Friday. Those both felt like your typical Saturday. Now, from what I heard, between 12 and 3:30 was the show's peak, and that's kind of when myself and a few others dipped out. Got to the show early, checked it out, walked around, taking a peek and seeing just what's around the show, and then went out to lunch with Wesker Griff, Dave's Midlife Card Crisis, Big Scott 35, and then came back at 3:30, had a bunch of action after that, was able to add something significant to the collection that day as well. And then that night, just kind of relax, hang out, went over to the Doubletree, met up with some old school YouTubers. It was great to see all those guys as well. And then before going to bed, hung out in the lobby and just broke some junk wax. Finally got to break something on this trip because the other stuff was just crazy expensive, all the modern stuff. So that was awesome. And then Sunday, because I had the VIP pass, I decided to run in real quick. Had about an hour and a half to spend at the show. Ran into a few YouTubers, just kind of looking around, see if I'd find anything that I did not have, that I did not see, that I missed. And about 15 minutes before I had to leave, I finally ran into Eric, those back pages. And if you guys have met Eric, or if you've watched his channel, he's someone who's hard to miss. Big beard, big hat. He's a rather tall guy. I did not see him a single time at the show, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Finally, in the last 15 minutes, I spotted him on Sunday before I had to leave. So that is how massive the show is. You think you're going to see everyone and everything, and you can't do it. It's too big. And it was a great time. And this show was kind of weird because I would run into the same people a few times, and there are other people I really didn't see at the show, or I'd see maybe once or twice because that's just how big it was. So I guess with all that being said, I'm just trying to say, again, it is worth going to the show. Aim for AC 2022. You'll have a great time. It'll be a journey for most. You fly into Philadelphia, you hop on the train, drops you off right at the convention center. You can go to the show, get a hotel room. But it'll be a blast once again. It'll be a ton of fun. And it's just big. It's massive. I suspect the turnout for 2022 might not be quite as big as Chicago, but I think it will be huge regardless. There's a huge collecting base in the Northeast. So I think you may have a little less in terms of people flying in, but you'll have big crowds driving in from Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and all those surrounding areas. So I think it's going to be incredible. Once again, do want to give a shout out to Fu3112 for that incredible footage he provided all of us from the National. Check out his channel. It's like a 55-minute video walking around, showing the show floor. Incredible job by Fu. And this year, one of the themes for me was all about kind of going for quality over quantity. I love the quantity, and I have a ton of it. But this year, I wanted to find ways to add some big-time cards to my collection, some things towards the top of my list. And I was able to do all that without really shelling out much cash. I actually think I came home with more than I left with, which is a great feeling. And, you know, it's one of those things you kind of evolve as a collector. And when you collect for a while, you will build up extras and duplicates that you don't need. And you can find a way to move those and put those towards cards that you really want in your collection. When you're starting off, you kind of look at some big cards and you're like, oh man, I'm never going to get that. And, you know, it's tough, but you eventually will have an opportunity to get that, whether you're able to just save up for it or whether you're to kind of able to trade up for that. This year, I brought some extra modern stuff I had graded and some loose cards as well, and I was able to turn that into some cards that I really wanted to add to the collection. So let me show off the highlights real quick. We've got a 53 Bowman color, Pee Wee Reese. So an amazing card there. Card I wanted for a long time in a VG3. A lot of collectors' favorite card. Big Scott 35 helped me with this one. It's the Roberto Clemente rookie. I was able to acquire this along with a strong amount of cash for a stack of Shohei Ohtani's. I like Ohtani. I love watching him play, and I have some in the collection, but I had a lot of extras. I was able to turn that into a Clemente rookie. Probably the number one target of the show was to finally acquire the 1950 Bowman Jackie Robinson, and this is a hell of a beautiful PSA 1. So incredible example there. And then I always look for the oddball stuff. So SGC slabs are incredible, but they also have a heck of a reflection. But 1888 RNS Artistic, Philadelphia. Was able to find that one. And then my pickup, my lone pickup from Sunday, it's an 1888 WG1 card game, Jim Fogarty. So very sweet card that I'm happy to add to the collection there. Talk about rarities. That card via PSA is a Pop 3, not a Pop 3 EX5. 3 total. 3 total cards have been graded. I forget what the grades are. This might even be the highest graded one. I can't remember offhand. Maybe there's one above it, but 3 have been graded. I didn't look up SGC. I would suspect there are probably a few that have been graded by SGC as well, but that's just not something you're going to see. There are none on eBay, none sold on eBay the last 90 days. I was able to reach out to Andrew, aka Nuff Said Cards, to get a little more information on what he could find via VCP, and that allowed me to be able to better negotiate to grab that card. So that's a super sweet addition to the collection, and definitely thrilled to add it. And then finally, I do have one package here from MD Pick 21. Mike D, I appreciate meeting you once again. Met him back at AC in 2016. I think it's 2016 in AC. Was able to meet Mike. And then met him in Cleveland as well. And then this year. So he hooked me up with a 2018 Topps Chrome Update Rhys Hoskins PSA 10. Rhys is having a solid year. His average is not what you'd like to see, but power, RBIs, he's doing a really good job with that. And that's just kind of the way baseball is nowadays. Oh, and this is awesome too. Cole Hamels, green refractor from Heritage, 2011 Heritage. So cards you don't see a ton. They're not impossible to find, of course, but the Heritage Chrome Refractors, you can find them, if, like I said. You just don't see them. They're not super common. They end up in collections. Mike, appreciate that. Thank you for hooking me up with that. And then I look at just all these cards I picked up, and you just think of the different people who helped you acquire them. So these, old school YouTuber, Sictifer, Chris, helped me with the archives, was hanging out with Bob, Barth, buddy of mine, and Wesker Griff, and some others. And Chris had come over and was showing off some cards he picked up, showed off a Mike Greenwell that he had acquired, an Archives card. And Archives autographs are awesome. They're great for the collection. It's a product that's tough to break because there's so many names in there that just don't bring much money. And when you're spending big money on a box, it can be hard to justify. But like the autograph, that's like one of my favorite products for autographs because you find so many names that you remember kind of from your youth, and just so many guys who aren't in a lot of products. So he had showed myself and Dave's Midlife Card Crisis where he found it, and we rifled through. Dave got some stuff as well. You know, was able to pick up some Japanese Phillies cards, which was awesome. So I had seen these and then kind of forgot about them, and then Big Scott 35 mentioned it. We were able to find that. Like I mentioned, Andrew Nuffsaid Cards providing information on the old school stuff. Scotty Tradition was with him when I pulled the trigger on this, and I looked at a lot of Robinsons. Just, it was awesome. Big Scott 35 with me for that. He had actually acquired one as well. Vintage Oddball Cards, Rick, hooking it up with this. And there's so many other people that I met at the show once again, and you look forward to it every year. And you know what? It was great. It was incredible. It was a ton of fun. Shout out to Dave's Midlife Card Crisis for booking the hotel room, getting that stuff all in order. Shout out to everyone. Brad 8671, awesome to finally meet you after years. How about this sweet Allen and Ginter sign? The card Dreamer. So many people hooking stuff up. So many people making it a great weekend. Sometimes you're just at a loss for words. It was awesome to see everyone. Triple Crown 24. Talk to you all the time. Great to hang out with you in person. Right there, she blinded me with refractors. I could name people for quite a while. I would miss some. I know I'm missing some. I know I haven't mentioned Baseball Collector. You'll see them on video. You'll see everyone. It was awesome. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you're going to AC, let me know as well. Hell, we got a year to plan for that. But before you know, it'll be there. It'll be here. We'll be there. And it'll be a blast. All right, everyone. Have a great one.